Welcome to Real People, Real Stories, where we are interviewing people just like you and me who've had success with redox molecules. My name is Dr. Barbie Phillips, and I'll be your host for tonight's Zoom call. And I'm coming to you from Northwest Oklahoma. My background is I'm a chiropractic physician for people and animals, and I was introduced to these molecules 4.5 years ago. So we have a guest tonight that I'll introduce to you shortly. But I would like to, for anyone that's watching this at a later time or a guest tonight that's not familiar with redox molecules, I would like to share just a little about them. So redox molecules are something that we're born with. They're native to the human body, and they help our cells do their job, basically. They help our cells repair, they detect bad cells, and they either repair them or they replace them. So that's pretty important to have a healthy body. But unfortunately, as we get older, after about the age of puberty, we lose the ability to make these molecules as efficiently as we did when we were younger. And so we have something that we're going to talk to you about, a breakthrough technology tonight, and it's called Redox Cell Signaling Supplement. This is one way that we would like to discuss to replenish those molecules. And the molecules that are in that blue bottle, they are very small, and because they're small, they easily absorb into the cells. And once they absorb into the cells, they act as an on-off switch to the cells. They turn the good cells on and the bad cells off, which is pretty incredible. And we want that to happen in our bodies so we can have healthy cells and a healthy body. And when they do their job like that, over time, they help our body create resilience to stress and overall wellness. I am going to place a disclaimer here before I introduce our guest that the information we'll be discussing tonight will simply be the testimony of our wonderful guest tonight, and anything that is discussed is not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any medical condition. So I'm now going to introduce our guest, which is Norm La Fleur. And Norm, I would like for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to our guest, tell us a little about your background, and then we would love to hear how you were introduced to ASEA and what your journey's been like on them. Take it away, Norm.
All right, great. Thank you, Barbie. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. My previous background prior to getting involved with ASEA, I have a background in mechanical engineering along with switching over to architectural, and then eventually leading into the world of prosthetics because of the downturn in the manufacturing environment. So I ended up working with amputees for 9.5 years as a peer visitor, and I ran an amputee support group as well. And that's part of my story I'll be speaking about tonight is going back into my childhood days. I was an athlete. I was always climbing trees, riding bicycles. I ran track. I ran cross country. I did a lot of hiking up in the mountains. I was very, very active. But then once I got my degree and started my engineering job, some of them were tied to a desk, and the waistline got a little bit larger on me, and kept on being more sitting at the desk and then not getting the exercise once I got home. So at 30 years old, all of this sedentary type of lifestyle caught up to me, and I ended up with blood clots that moved from my lower legs up into my lung, and I ended up being hospitalized and put on a drug in order to try to thin it out and make the clot go away. And all that was okay. I got out of there, and I found a job that moved my family and I down to North Carolina. There was some layoffs up here in Connecticut that preceded all this, and I was in a lot of stress trying to find work with a pregnant wife when the initial plant closure came. So that's where all the stress began, and this was a stress-induced type of condition that can physically change your body and make bad things happen. And I didn't handle the stress all that well at that time. So I ended up moving to a new job in North Carolina. Thought life was moving forward really well, and 9 months into the job, I wasn't even there for a full year yet. I ended up with more blood clots that, once again started running up my body, and I entered myself into the hospital before it got into my lung, and went back on the same drug a second time. It's the second time you go on this particular drug when you can have a reaction to it, where it has some antibodies that develop. And I had a condition where it made more blood clots instead of thinning the blood, and it shut off the vascular system in my lower left leg, and gangrene set in, and I became an amputee at 32 years old. And uh, I was waiting to try to heal, and I ended up being home for less than a day, got an infection, called up the doctor, and had to go right back into the hospital, not even home for a day, with a high fever, and a bacteria had gotten into my wound site, and that was traveling up to where it could have almost killed me. So I've had 5 major life-threatening things occur prior to getting involved with ASEA. All of them were vascular challenges, and one of them affecting the heart while moving around and having to get a stent put in. And then the other one was where fluid builds up around the heart because some bad water got into an open wound of mine and created the fluid around the heart, and my ejection fraction went down to 20%, which I'm very fortunate to be here. I had fluid in my lungs, and I had kidney failure as well. So it was very, very critical, and I'm just amazed that I made it through. 2 months later, I was back out hiking in the mountains. So I, was able to recover pretty quick. But as age creeps up, all these conditions had taken a toll on me, and continued wounds on my good foot because my veins are now challenged from that reaction to the drug. And there's valves in the veins that don't function well. So I've been dealing with a chronic condition for the past 31 years. So that was my life prior to ASEA, and I had major weight gain that Barbie can show a picture of me at this particular point in my life before I got involved with making some changes to where I was going to go on taking health in my own hands.
That's your
So this is
picture.
me. That's me in 2014, where I basically don't have a neck. Uh, I was very inflamed. I was up hiking on the Blue Ridge, which I pray for those people right now of what they're going through. This is in North Carolina, up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I was trying to be active, but I still had a sedentary lifestyle, and I was eating and drinking the wrong things. And as a result, I had a lot of weight gain and a lot of fluid on my body. Made some dietary changes, getting rid of soda, started to drink good alkaline water, and I started cooking a lot more for myself instead of going out to eat where you can't control the fat, salt, and sugar. So moving fast forward, I ended up moving back home to Connecticut to care for my elderly parents. My mom had broken her hip, and my dad had dementia, and she was the caregiver for him. So nobody else was here to care for my parents. So I packed everything up and moved back home, and a lot of the weight started coming off. But I was here, and I was in the weeds taking care of mom and dad when the phone call came in that my daughter was hospitalized by drinking very bad water from a river called the Cape Fear River in Wilmington, North Carolina, where there's a chemical company that was dumping the forever chemicals into the water, which affects the thyroid system. And her thyroid went extremely high. Her heartbeat was 165 beats a minute, and they lost her 4 times in the ER. And they could not get her thyroid stabilized because she couldn't hold the medicine down. It kept coming up on her. So that's when I said a prayer to God, and a week later, a friend of mine called me who was involved in the alkaline water that I drink, and he asked me about if I knew anything about ASEA. And come to find out, for him, that was the third time that I had heard about this product. And at the time, I was thinking about some other things. I had other things in life going on and a very small budget, and I was in a health food store buying adrenal vitamins uh, because that's what I was told that I needed. And I'm typical guy that goes in, gets what he needs, and starts leaving. But this lady caught me on the way out the door and said, "Hey, this blue bottle really helped one of my friends that had a life-threatening challenge, and she's still alive when she was told to go home and get her affairs in order." And I said, "Wow, that's really cool." And I just said, "Thanks for sharing that with me," and I moved on. And so when my friend Shane called me and told me about the ASEA, I said, "Hmm." I said, "There's a reason why you're calling me right now, and it's a divine intervention because I threw a prayer out there and I'm looking for something that could help my daughter with her recovery." And so I ordered the products right away for her sake and get them down to her. She had a knee injury that was all inflamed, and she was crawling up 3 flights of stairs crying with carrying her groceries. And she didn't really want to be around anymore because the knee injury and her thyroid and all these problems compounded together, causing a lot of a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety in her life. And she couldn't work, uh, and she just didn't really know what to do. She was at a loss, and nobody was helping her at the hospital as far as being turned away for pain medicines for the knee. So I ended up shipping this product down to her, and there was a gel that she could rub on the knee that reduced inflammation and made her knee feel better, and she was able to stand and walk around after about a month or so. And that was just wonderful, you know, hearing that, from her that she was starting to feel better with her knee. And then she started to being able to hold the medicine down that she needed to control the thyroid. And so that was the beginning of my introduction to ASEA, mainly for her. But however, I'm an amputee of 31 years now, and I had all these vascular challenges. And I said, you know what? I said, I need to be on this because I have so many things that have occurred, and I've been giving the hospital way too much business, and I don't want to be going back there anymore. I wanted to take control of my life. And I already did so with some dietary changes, but I knew I needed a little something extra. And after about 30 days of drinking the product, I'm looking for how's this helping me. And I went kayaking in a very rough condition where we had a hurricane going by that was out to sea, but it changed the bay. So we had about 2 to 3 foot waves, and they're crashing over the bow, and I just paddled through them like I was cutting them like butter. And I came back in and just grabbed that some about 55-pound kayak and just tossed it up on the car after that rough paddling. I said, "Wait a second here. I should be really beat after that." And I just took that kayak and threw it up on the roof of the car like it was nothing. And I feel like I could go back out there and do some more paddling. And I just had all this extra energy. And then up here in New England, we have a lot of these big 200-year-old oak trees that love to drop a lot of leaves. And so I'm out there for 4 hours straight as an amputee, raking leaves and bagging them and hauling them. And I was just nonstop. And I realized that the energy that I was getting from the product was really helping me. Um, I use all of the vitamins. I've been using them to try to help with my recovery. My wounds that were chronic and continuing for 31 years used to be very, very large on my ankle and my toes, and the size of those wounds has been further reduced, and they're smaller. I still get them, but they're smaller, and they don't take as long to go away. And so I can continue being the caregiver here at my house, taking care of mom and dad. And my dad's passed since then, but he had a good life where I was able to take care of him. So I did a lot of physical activities as an amputee. I'm shoveling snow, I'm pushing a lawnmower back and forth, and hauling the grass to dump it. So I did a lot of things that required a lot of extra energy. And being a below knee amputee, I require 30% more energy just to ambulate. And so I recognized that I was doing a whole lot better as far as being able to do these things. In fact, I'm now only half a mile from my high school track where I used to sprint the 440, the 220, and the mile relay back when we measured track meets in yards. It dates me a little bit. Now we're in meters. And I went there not having done any running. I did my stretches to make sure that I stretch out my hamstrings, and I stepped on the line with just regular sneakers on and a pair of shorts. And I ran 110 meters. And I felt so good that I ran back to my car. I grabbed my cell phone and I found a kid at the track. I said, "Hey, I want to run this again. And I want you to time me now." So within 10 minutes, I lined myself back up and I ran 110 meters in 23 seconds as an amputee. I had no lactic acid buildup. I had a very quick recovery. My heart rate seemed to settle down a whole lot faster than back when I was in high school. In high school, I felt like there was a taste up in my mouth and hard to catch my breath, and my legs were like rubber. And I had beautiful recovery after sprinting, and so that's when I really realized the power of the Redox. And at that time, I was also taking a cell performance product called the Redox Energy, and so that gave me that extra energy to just keep on going. So I left the high school track after running those 110 meters twice, and we have a boardwalk that goes along the bay on the Long Island Sound, and a round trip is 2.2 miles. And I walked that with great ease after doing all my sprinting. I still had energy remaining, and I was able to come home and take care of some chores. So the recovery, the extra energy, and just living life to where when I go hiking or bicycling, um, there was no feeling of being worn out the day after. Darlene and I went on a old railroad track that they've covered over for cycling, and we did about 15 miles, and we hadn't been on the bicycle all year. And we did 15 miles on the bike and enjoyed it. And the very next day, you don't have those types of aches that are typical of not being out there on a bicycle. So this was not something I did every single day. And so you would expect to be having some type of fatigue or achiness in the lower limbs or wherever. And I felt fine. I felt like I could go back out there and do some more miles. I back in high school or just beyond high school, I left East Lyme, Connecticut. I toured to Montreal by bicycle and camping equipment through the Berkshires of the Massachusetts and the Green Mountains of Vermont, all the way up past all the ski slopes in Vermont. And we toured to Montreal and ran around the Olympic track that they had in 1976 and sprinted there and got to visit the velodrome. And then we rode our bicycle back down through Dixville Notch in New Hampshire and right straight through all the White Mountains, and then paralleled the Connecticut River to come back down into Connecticut. So it was a 1,250-mile ride that we did in 18 days. So it's just telling you some of the athletic things that I had done. And I still am very grateful to be out of the wheelchair and being able to ride a bicycle for 15 miles. And we just turned around because we didn't want to get back before it got too dark. So we felt enough energy to go a little bit further if we could have, but we were facing daylight changes, so we had to get back to the cars in time. But that's pretty much my story. Sia has really helped me with my physical needs, and as a caregiver and an amputee with chronic conditions, I can't work full time like a stand up job. I still have issues with extreme discomfort and swelling that occurs. So with ASEA, I can talk to people on the phone. I can share my story with them, and I can get a little bit of extra money to come into the house while I'm still caring for my mom. And there's not too many jobs out there that will allow you the flexibility of that to occur. So I'm very, very grateful that this opportunity came along in my life. And that's my story, Barbie.
Wow, what an amazing story. So going from working in a company who served amputees to becoming an amputee, but it sounds like to me that you really haven't let that slow you down. You still, it's not like you just sat aside and felt sorry for yourself. You went out and found what was going to help you be active and continue to be healthy. You made lifestyle changes, which is a big job. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication. How many years ago were you introduced to ASEA redox molecules?
Oh, thank you. I was introduced right at 2020, August of 2020. I was on vacation when my buddy Shane gave me a phone call, so I couldn't really hit the ground running because we were going to finish vacation first. But I said I need to get this ordered for my daughter, so we went ahead and signed up, and I was looking for that extra opportunity. Like I was saying, the prosthetics field that came to me after my amputation and after several job losses, job changes, trying to recreate myself, going back to school at 41 for architecture because I just got tired of picking myself up off the ground with the manufacturing layoffs. It just seemed like these companies, when they lay you off, there's not too many engineering jobs that are in town where I was living. So then you have to pick up the family and move again. And I was tired of knowing that that was going to keep happening. And I was asked by the prosthetic company to come to work for them when I had no job offerings whatsoever, and I was losing my home in the 2010 time frame when the economy was really in bad shape. So it was a real blessing that I got a phone call to come in and talk to the prosthetist and didn't realize he was the president of 11 offices.
Wow.
And so I got a job for not knowing I was there for an interview. And he said,
Wow.
well, you got to take over the support group now.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
I never went to an amputee support group meeting. I went back to work to take care of my young family. And so I didn't really know what to expect to run the group, but it was because of my attitude towards everything I've been through with 3 surgeries to try to heal. I could meet with people and share my story with them and say, listen, I've been there. I've been in a wheelchair for 10 months. I had 3 surgeries. Just when you think you're getting better, you're going back in for more surgery. And so I share my story with the amputees in the hospitals and the nursing homes and then running the support group to encourage them to keep moving forward and to do their exercises like I did. I was motivated because I had a baby. I had a 1-month-old baby when this happened. And I wanted to be the one to push the bicycle. And so
Mm,
that was my goal. You got
that's
to set some
awesome.
goals.
Yes, that
Yep.
is true. What a
Yeah.
great testimony, Norm. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would
Thank
like
you.
to ask our guests if anyone has a question for Norm. We'd like to open it up for questions, and you're welcome to unmute and turn your camera on if anyone would like to take this opportunity. Looks like we're going to have shy participants tonight. All right. Well, I will mention that the Zoom call is recorded and it can be found on the Creation Chiropractic YouTube channel. And if you have further questions, you're welcome to call us at Creation Chiropractic at 580-698-2852, or of course, contact Norm. And we will be joining together with another guest in 2 more weeks, and that will be on October 14th. And we will be so excited to interview another person and hear about their journey with redox molecules. And that's it for tonight. Norm, do you have any last words before we wrap up?
I just want to encourage everybody that this is really real science. It is a godsend for me. I have my daughter. She's still alive as a result of how this helped her body to be able to repair itself. And I'm just very blessed. And it takes people like my friend reaching out to me. He was relatively new with the company, but you just reach out and share it with people because the healthcare system, which is what happened to me, it was a drug that caused my injury to my leg, and these medicines that I was on made me bleed internally and almost lost my life because of doctors not checking the different medications. So by eating a healthier diet and getting rid of the sodas, and then definitely getting on replacing the redox inside your body will fuel that communication so that your body can repair all these things that have happened. And I feel better now at 63 than I did at 30. And
That's
I'm
amazing.
going to a class reunion where I'm going to be looking at people with their vertical scars on their knees because everybody seems to be signing up for getting metal parts put into their knees nowadays. And I'm very grateful that at least I still have mine and I can sprint with them. So it's a blessing.
Well, Norm, you certainly have a fascinating story, and we're so thankful that you took time to share it with us tonight. Thank you for your time. And we will go ahead and sign off for this evening. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.